I love LeBron as a basketball player, as a everything that he did for basketball. I mean, the man he is off the basketball court, all the things that he
We all
accomplished.
do. If you don't, you a hater.
You know what I mean? He just, man, he's it. You know what I mean? And they always putting them together. Like, why it can't be like LeBron is on Mount Rushmore.
Facts.
That's enough.
That's and
You know what I mean?
Like
Like,
by saying that Mike is better than him.
yeah,
People
it's
take
not.
it
It's
as
not.
a
It's
slight
not.
or
It's not.
disrespect.
It's not no disrespect because you. I mean, you're better than who I am and was as a basketball player. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, for me, just Kobe was just, I mean, just a certified maniac killer.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about, I mean, want to eat your heart. I mean, that's who he was every night. I'm taking everything personal every night. You know what I mean? And his work ethic and everything about him, man, like as a basketball player, he was just, I mean, he's the real, him and Mike are the real definitions of killer.
You know, you want to be fast like Isaiah, and you want to shoot like Bird, you know, rebound like Barkley, pass like Magic, be dominant like Shaq. But man, I wanted to be like Mike. You know what I mean? I remember the first time I played against him. And I walked out on the court and I looked at him, and for the first time in my life, a human being didn't look real to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if y'all watch the Chappelle show, but he talk about a certain incident where he seen somebody seen Rick James. And like, I literally seen his aura. Like it looked like he was glowing. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, like, man, that's Mike. And I'm looking at him. I can't stop looking at him. Like, I'm looking at his shoes and I'm like, man, he got on the Jordans. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it was Mike. It was my idol. It was my hero. And I remember just hating the Knicks so much and the bad boys for beating them up the way they did. I used to watch him and sit on my mom's dresser. And she used to tell me, boy, if you don't get back from that TV before you go blind, you better. Like, I wanted to be that close to him just watching him.
Allen Iverson, the answer, was never the kind of player to bow his head before anyone. He was the embodiment of defiance, a street-bred superstar with cornrows, a killer crossover, and a fire in his eyes that seemed to challenge the entire world. Iverson carried himself like a man who needed no permission, no approval, only the ball in his hands and the courage to go right at giants. And yet, there was one moment that stunned everyone. When speaking about Michael Jordan, Iverson, the man who feared no one, admitted with raw honesty, "Man, I wanted to be like Mike." Think about that for a second. Iverson didn't flinch against Shaq, a tank in human form. He didn't cower before Karl Malone, didn't shy away from Kobe, and never backed down from any defender daring to stop his legendary crossover. But when it came to Jordan, Iverson didn't talk about rivalry. He didn't talk about competition, he talked about a dream. That tells you just how overwhelming Jordan's aura was. It didn't just make opponents cautious, it made fellow superstars, players who were themselves labeled legends, confess that they once wished they could be him. Jordan didn't just make fans want to be like Mike. He made the very men who shared the hardwood with him, who stood eye to eye against him, fall under that same gravity. This is the difference. LeBron James can make an entire team stronger. Kobe Bryant could inspire through his obsession with the grind. But Jordan possessed something no box score could measure, no trophy case could define. He had an aura, a presence so magnetic that even someone as prideful as Iverson had to admit it. Remember, Iverson once crossed Jordan over in a game, a moment immortalized as a symbol of defiance. And yet, even after accomplishing what millions of fans considered the ultimate act of rebellion, Iverson never claimed equality. He knew, and the world knew, Jordan was not just another man to beat on a single play. He was a wall of legend, a shadow cast over the entire league. So when Iverson said, "I wanted to be like Mike," it wasn't just praise. It was a confession, a surrender of ego, a living testament to the truth. Michael Jordan is the standard of greatness. The GOAT debate can rage on forever. But remember this, if even a fearless warrior like Iverson was overwhelmed by Jordan's aura, then who else could possibly resist it? Jordan. The immortal aura. Allen Iverson once said a line that froze the entire basketball world. When I first faced Michael Jordan, I was overwhelmed. He wasn't just a normal human being anymore, he was a living icon. If a warrior as fearless as Iverson, a man who made giants crumble with a single crossover, admits this, then you know Jordan was never just a player. He was a phenomenon beyond human limits. Jordan's greatness was never only about the fadeaways, the thunderous dunks, or the 6 priceless rings. Those were merely the visible tip of the iceberg. What truly made him immortal was the invisible aura that swallowed entire arenas, the force that made grown men with steel nerves suddenly tremble at the thought of guarding him. Jordan never once needed to stand in front of cameras and shout, "I am the GOAT." He didn't have to. Opponents, teammates, legends, and the entire world spoke it for him. The ultimate strength of a true legend is not in self-proclamation, but in making every rival, every witness, every generation whisper the same truth. That's number one. And so Jordan turned every slight, every doubt into fuel for annihilation. When analysts dared to suggest Clyde Drexler was the better three-point shooter, Jordan burned Portland in the '92 finals with 6 threes in one half and 35 points in 24 minutes. When LeBradford Smith dared to say, "Good game, Mike," after dropping 37, Jordan lit him up the very next night with 36 points in the first half alone. With Jordan, every ounce of disrespect carried a death sentence. That is the difference. Many stars can win games. Only Jordan could make opponents feel small, helpless, and defeated before the ball was even tipped. And the most astonishing truth? That aura has never faded. It isn't locked away in grainy VHS tapes from the 90 seconds, nor is it just nostalgia highlights. Even today, when someone reaches the absolute pinnacle in any field, people still say, "He's the Michael Jordan of that industry." Because Michael Jordan is not just a basketball player. He is the definition of greatness itself, the eternal benchmark against which all are measured. No stat, no trophy, no advanced metric can fully capture it. That is why Iverson was overwhelmed, why the world trembled, and why to this very day, the name Michael Jordan remains the living definition of the word GOAT, the gauntlet of legends. One of the most common narratives today is that LeBron James has faced tougher competition than Michael Jordan. But that argument crumbles the moment you trace the gauntlet Jordan had to run through in his prime. The Detroit Pistons, the infamous Bad Boys, were not just a team, they were a war machine. They hunted Jordan like prey, delivering elbows, shoves, and blows that would get today's players suspended for months. Yet Jordan absorbed it all, transformed his body, and came back stronger until he buried them once and for all. That wasn't just basketball, it was survival. Then came the New York Knicks, with Patrick Ewing's brute force and John Stark's fiery defense. The Indiana Pacers, led by Reggie Miller, one of the greatest snipers the game has ever known. The Miami Heat with Alonzo Mourning. The Orlando Magic with young Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway, future Hall of Famers in waiting. And finally, the Finals Gauntlet. Clyde Drexler's Blazers, Charles Barkley's Suns, Shawn Kemp and Gary Payton's Sonics, Karl Malone and John Stockton's Jazz. That is a Hall of Fame minefield. Jordan didn't just defeat these legends, he erased their championship dreams. 6 times he reached the NBA Finals, and 6 times he left with the trophy, the Finals MVP, and the broken hopes of another superstar on the other side. What's more telling is this: not one of those Finals series ever went to a Game 7. Jordan's willpower didn't even allow the greatest players of his generation to drag him to the brink. That aura, that psychological grip, broke them before the buzzer ever sounded. So when someone says LeBron faced tougher competition, remember the truth. Jordan faced giants, Hall of Famers, MVPs, dynasties, and every single one of them fell. He didn't just win, he dominated. And that, more than numbers, is what cements the aura Iverson spoke of, an aura that crushed legends and made the impossible look inevitable. The fear factor: numbers can be debated, records can be broken, but there is one battlefield where Michael Jordan stands utterly alone. the battlefield of fear. Kobe Bryant was feared for his relentlessness, Shaquille O'Neal for his brute force, Allen Iverson for his lightning quickness. But when players, coaches, and even referees talk about pure intimidation, the kind that seeps into your veins before the jump ball, only one name silences the room: Michael Jordan. Opponents didn't just prepare to play against him. They braced themselves for an ordeal. Veterans talk about sleepless nights, players praying not to be embarrassed, and coaches rewriting game plans that still failed to contain him. Nick Anderson once dared to say, 45 is not 23. Jordan responded by turning into a storm, dropping 38, and reminding the world why mocking him was basketball suicide. Reggie Miller, one of the fiercest trash talkers in NBA history, admitted he once tried to go at Jordan verbally. His lesson? Jordan dropped 40 and made sure Miller never forgot who was king of the court. Even giants weren't safe when 7-2. Dikembe Mutombo bragged that Jordan had never dunked on him. MJ made it his personal mission to obliterate him at the rim, finishing with the infamous finger wag that turned Mutombo's own taunt against him. And it wasn't just physical dominance. Jordan knew how to break you mentally. Against 5'3" Muggsy Bogues, he stepped back and mocked, "Shoot it, you're the shortest player in NBA history." Bogues missed, and some argue his confidence never fully recovered. Against John Stockton, after a dunk, the Jazz owner shouted, "Pick on someone your own size." Next possession, Jordan slammed it on 7-footer Mel Turpin and shouted back, "Is he big enough for you?" This wasn't arrogance. It was psychological warfare, waged and won night after night. Jordan didn't just play the game, he controlled the entire theater. He dictated how you felt, how you moved, how you believed in yourself. LeBron James inspires respect. Michael Jordan inspired fear. And in sports, fear is the ultimate weapon. It tilts the floor. It shrinks the basket. It makes the strongest legs heavy. That's why Iverson, who feared no man, admitted that facing Jordan felt different. Because against Jordan, you weren't just playing basketball. You were staring at Black Jesus. Leadership through fire. Greatness is never forged in comfort. And no one embodied that truth more than Michael Jordan. He wasn't just a leader who inspired with words, he led by pushing everyone around him to their breaking point, demanding they rise to his level or be left behind. Stories from Bulls practices are legendary. Teammates admit those sessions were often harder than actual NBA games. Jordan's competitiveness was volcanic. Every drill was a war. Every scrimmage a battlefield. If you didn't give everything, Jordan would make sure you paid the price. Steve Kerr learned that firsthand when Jordan punched him in the face during practice. It wasn't about cruelty. It was about setting a standard. Kerr later admitted, "That moment was the best thing that ever happened to me because from then on, Jordan respected me." Jordan punched Will Perdue for setting a hard pick. He relentlessly taunted Scott Burrell to toughen him up. He even targeted Bill Cartwright with impossible passes to expose weaknesses. To outsiders, it looked harsh, but to those who endured it, it was transformation. Jordan wasn't trying to destroy his teammates. He was building warriors capable of surviving the pressure of June basketball. That was the secret. Jordan never asked his teammates to do something he wasn't willing to do himself. He was always the first to compete, the last to quit, the one setting the tone. His brutal honesty, his unrelenting standards, turned the Chicago Bulls from a struggling franchise into an empire that defined the 1,990 seconds. And here lies the contrast. LeBron James is praised for lifting teammates with affirmation, with encouragement, with a style more nurturing than punishing. Jordan, on the other hand, ruled with fire. He believed greatness wasn't given, it was extracted through pain, sweat, and confrontation. That's why when the Bulls reached the finals, they didn't flinch. They had already survived the storm of Michael Jordan in practice. By the time they faced the brightest lights, the toughest opponents, they knew nothing could compare to the fire they had already endured. Jordan's leadership wasn't gentle, it wasn't kind, but it was undeniable, and it built champions. The art of the clutch. If practice was the forge where Jordan's fire was honed, the arena was the stage where he unveiled his masterpiece, the clutch moment. For Michael Jordan, the game's most crushing pressure was never a burden, it was oxygen. Where others gasped for air, Jordan thrived. The numbers are staggering. 28 career game-winning shots, including 9 NBA record-setting buzzer beaters. But the numbers alone don't capture the weight of those moments. Each dagger wasn't just about scoring points. It was about ripping the soul out of an opponent, proving once again that against Jordan, hope was futile. Think of the shot in 1989 over Craig Alo, the first taste of Jordan's cold-blooded brilliance, the birth of an assassin's reputation. The defender draped over him, the season on the line. Jordan hung in the air an extra heartbeat, releasing the ball with perfect precision. Swish. Bulls win. Cleveland's heartbroken. Fast forward to 1997, the flu game. Sick, pale, barely standing. Jordan still carried his team with 38 points, collapsing into Scottie Pippen's arms at the buzzer. That wasn't just clutch basketball, it was the embodiment of willpower, a man who refused to let circumstance dictate destiny. And then, the crown jewel, 1998, Game 6 against Utah. Time running down, Bulls trailing. Jordan steals the ball from Karl Malone, dribbles up court, isolates Brian Russell, and with one final crossover, rises into history. The ball arcs, the net snaps, the Bulls claim their 6th title. No scriptwriter could have crafted a more perfect finale. That shot wasn't just a basket, it was the punctuation mark on a dynasty, the immortal image of a man who defined winning. What separates Jordan is not just that he hit those shots, but that everyone expected him to. Teammates believed. Fans believed. Opponents feared. And Jordan delivered, again and again, because pressure didn't weaken him, it revealed him. That is why, decades later, when people talk about clutch, they don't say the LeBron moment. They don't even say the Kobe moment. They say the Jordan moment. Because when the world stopped, when the lights burned hottest, and when greatness was demanded, Michael Jordan never ran. He embraced the moment and made it his. The legacy and the aura, when the last shot fell in Utah, when the banners were raised and the trophies secured, Michael Jordan's story should have ended like any other great athletes, with statistics, with rings, with highlights that fade into nostalgia. But Jordan's legacy is different. It is not trapped in numbers, nor frozen in time. It lives, breathes, and grows. Decades after he last laced up his sneakers. Why? Because Michael Jordan was not just a basketball player. He was the standard, the measuring stick, the immovable summit of greatness. Every star who came after him, Kobe, LeBron, Durant, even the legends before him like Magic and Bird, were inevitably compared to him. Not because they were unworthy, but because Jordan set the terms of the debate. He created the very definition of excellence. Jordan's aura was something no box score could capture. Opponents felt it when he walked into the arena. Teammates felt it when they looked into his eyes. And fans felt it every time he touched the ball. He wasn't just feared, he was revered. That's why Allen Iverson, a warrior in his own right, once admitted that facing Jordan was like being struck by something beyond basketball. It wasn't just competition. It was confrontation with destiny. And Jordan's influence didn't end with the buzzer. He changed culture. He made sneakers a global symbol. He turned the NBA into a worldwide phenomenon. His swagger, his fire, his style, they became the blueprint for what it means to be not just an athlete, but an icon. To this day, the phrase, "the Michael Jordan of," defines the peak of any field, from surgery to business to art. He is greatness, personified. LeBron's resume is staggering. Kobe's heart was legendary, and others will etch their names into history. But when the conversation ends, when the dust settles, and when people whisper the name that defines the game itself, it is always Jordan. Because he was not just the best at basketball, he was the embodiment of what it means to dominate, to inspire, and to transcend. Michael Jordan is not just the GOAT, he is the game. And that is why, no matter how many points are scored, no matter how many records are broken, his aura will never be dethroned.